In 597, Ethelbert, King of Kent, and his Christian wife, Bertha, welcomed St. Augustine to Canterbury. The following year, 598, Augustine established a Benedictine monastery, afterwards known as St. Augustine's Abbey. On his later return to England as Bishop of the English, Augustine established a church nearby which became the Cathedral. The traditional approach of pilgrims, including Chaucer's pilgrims, was down Mercer Lane here to this gate, giving entry to the cathedral precinct. In the Middle Ages, Canterbury was one of the most venerated pilgrim shrines of Christianity. We're standing on the south side of the cathedral, looking towards the southwest porch. We found that there was to be a wedding in the cathedral, and so this part of the cathedral marked in red is inaccessible at the moment. So we'll continue with our survey of the outside of the building and look inside later. This is the western transept, and over the crossing, Bell Harry Tower. This was built around 1500 and replaced an earlier Norman tower. Bell Harry Tower has been described as the noblest Gothic tower in existence. A glimpse now at the southeast transept, and that tower is a leftover from a previous building. We've moved further eastwards and are now looking at the chapel of St. Anselm, which stands at an angle to the building. This is a survivor from the choir which was built by Archbishop Anselm, the rest of which was destroyed by fire in 1174. Looking upwards now, we can tell from the roofline how the building narrows as it comes to the Trinity Chapel. Further east is the corona, sometimes known as Becket's crown. This was hidden by scaffolding, so we've moved round to the north side of the cathedral. And from here we can get a partial view at least. Behind us we could see buildings remaining from the monastery closed by Henry VIII. These, I think, are the ruins of what used to be the hospital. In June 1942, 15 high-explosive bombs and hundreds of incendiary bombs were dropped in the precincts. It's a wonder, perhaps a miracle, that there aren't more ruins around here. Other buildings remaining from the monastery are now used by the King's School at Canterbury. Time now for our picnic, and we've been joined by our friend.
Are you being a good pussycat? Are you being a good pussycat? Pussy.
My friend then settled down with me until she realised that someone had come to a nearby bench with some more food. Through this gateway now takes us into the Archbishop's garden. This monument is the Kent War Memorial. This gate takes us through the city walls and out into the road. And after crossing this road, we're going to have another brief glimpse at St. Augustine's Abbey. And I understand that some of the buildings on this site are also used by the King's School. I am told that Christopher Marlowe, Robert Boyle and Somerset Maugham were pupils here.
That obviously used to be another entrance to the old Abbey area.
Back now to the cathedral where we left off at the east end. Whilst we're looking at all this masonry, can I just mention the double transepts? When Conrad was extending the church beyond the nave and building his short-lived choir, he incorporated an extra transept there. He perhaps got the idea from the recently enlarged church at Cluny. This was a novelty at the time, but has been copied later at Lincoln, Hereford, Salisbury, Worcester, Southwell and Durham. We can go through here now into the crypt, the largest Norman crypt in the world. See its carved capitals with queer beasts and ape men. Use of a chapel here was given to French refugee Protestants in the 16th century. Now we'll go up the Dean's steps, I hope he doesn't mind, towards the cloister. Its open space and covered walkways might be used by the monks for contemplation, exercise, relaxation, or reading improving works. Built originally around 1073, it was reconstructed in 1220. This remodelled vaulting work was done around 1400. Repainted recently, we have here the greatest collection in stone of heraldry in Europe. From the cloister we can enter the chapter house. First built around 1075, it was rebuilt in 1300 and later that century was greatly heightened. It has the second greatest wooden roof in England after Westminster Hall. The play Murder in the Cathedral by T.S. Eliot was commissioned for performance here in 1935. And so now for a look at the west end of the cathedral. A fine collection of statues, a lot of which I think have been replaced over the years.
Edward IV on the left and Victoria and Albert there.
And the figure in the central niche here is Erasmus. And with just a glimpse through this gate marked private, this brings us back to the southwest porch. So now we're all waiting for the arrival of the bride. The wedding will take place in the choir towards the east of the cathedral, so during the ceremony we'll be able to look at the nave. Meantime we'll have a closer look at this porch. I am told that the two figures coming up now on the bottom row represent King Ethelbert and Queen Bertha, who we mentioned right at the start if you remember. Look, the bride's arrived now, so when that group have proceeded to the choir, we will then be able to go inside. The nave that we will see is not the nave to which Conrad added his short-lived choir. That nave had to be pulled down and a new one was built under Henry Yeveles between 1391 and 1405. It has been described as one of the most elegant and spacious interiors created during the Middle Ages. The font we are going to see is from 1639, though it was actually smashed to bits by the Puritans and had to be remade. Unusually, it still has its lid, which you can see there suspended above it. We look next at the southwest transept. Along this transept is St. Michael's Chapel, often known as the Warriors' Chapel. The roll of honour of the regiment which used to be known as the Buffs is kept here. Each day at 11 o'clock a page of the book is turned, and at the same time the ship's bell from HMS Canterbury is struck as a memorial to men of the Navy. Around the walls of the nave are many military memorials, and we recorded a few of them.
Rolera 1808. The campaign of the Sutley 1845 to 6. Serving in Afghanistan 1838 and 1842 with Prince Albert's Light Infantry. Malaya 1875.
We can go now under the stairs that lead to the choir and come out in the northwest transept. It was here that Archbishop Becket was murdered on the 29th of December 1170. This space is often referred to as the martyrdom. Now it sounds as though that wedding may be coming to its end, and so let's have a closer look at the choir screen or pulpitum. This was built around 1400 and contains statues representing 6 kings of England, including Ethelbert and Edward the Confessor. We can now climb the stairs which lead up into the aisle which runs alongside the choir. We follow those thousands, millions I suppose, of pilgrims who have taken this route before us. They came on this pilgrimage to the shrine of St. Thomas a Becket. No doubt they were even more amazed at this building than we are. A screen was built in about 1300 to our left here to separate the monks in the choir from the constant passage of pilgrims along this aisle. We can today, however, go into the choir. This choir was started after the previous much-loved choir was burned down in 1174. The building of this new choir was under the supervision of William of Sens. After William fell 50 feet from the scaffolding, the work was continued by William the Englishman and completed in 1200. You can see here how the width of the building is narrowing as it comes from the choir into the Trinity Chapel. We saw that outside, if you remember. The original choir stalls in this new building were mutilated by, yes, other Christians, the Puritans, in 1642. Prince Edward, better known as the Black Prince, was the eldest son of Edward III. He had proved himself in battle. When his father had to retire from the field at Crecy, Edward took over command at the age of 16. It is believed that he was educated here by Prior Athbrand and wished to be buried here. We must now continue our pilgrimage and climb the steps from the choir aisle level into Trinity Chapel. The object of our pilgrimage, the shrine of St. Thomas a Becket, stood here from 1220 to 1538. That candle on the floor marks its position. In 1538 it was privatised and looted by Henry VIII. A short step to the east takes us into the corona or Becket's crown. Around the corona we can see what are known as the miracle windows. Made around 1200, 9 of the 12 survive. Each of the panels represents a miracle which took place due to the intercession of St. Thomas. Leaving the corona along the north side of the building, we first come to Henry IV's chantry. Henry IV is the only king to be buried at Canterbury. The chantry is dedicated to Edward the Confessor. But our time is running out, and I think this man is going round switching all the lights off. We'll have a last walk through the choir and have a closer look at the door in the pulpitum at the end. No doubt many churches have these little lantern attachments, but I've seen them at Sant. Just time for a look upwards under Pelhari Tower, that's 130 foot upwards. So that's Canterbury Cathedral. There's so much more to see there, this film is really just an introduction. Go and see it for yourself, they're quite friendly there.